Give it up for the young professor, Matt Graifer.
Daytona Beach. How about that intermission? How we feeling afterwards? All right, I got a couple questions right before I start. So first question for you. How many of you in here have ever been on a job interview before? Okay, I figured that would be the answer. How about, how many of you have ever been the interviewer? You sat on the other side of the table. We should probably get a few of you guys together. Okay, one more question. How many of you, is this your favorite interview question? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's my reaction to it. It's not my favorite, and tonight I'm here to tell you why. One more question for you. At any point in your life where you have been asked that question, how is your aim? Think back to 5 years ago from right now, August 2017. Are you where you thought you'd be 5 years ago? I'm thinking probably not. Well, how about 5 years before that? No? Then why are we wasting so much time asking and answering this question that no one seems to be able to give an honest answer to? Tonight, I'm here to make the case that the question is ridiculous and we should stop asking it. Because I believe that when it comes to your eventual success, it's not about where you see yourself in 5 years. I think instead the question should be, how do you see yourself in 5 years? So to explain it, I'm going to have you use your imagination. I want you to picture yourself driving in a car at night on a road with no street lights. Because that's what life is like. Driving in a highway in the dark with only the light of your headlights to show you the way. At any given moment, that's not too far in the distance, but you keep driving forward, trusting that the road ahead will continue to unfurl before you. Now I'm going to use my own road as an example, and I'm going to take you back 15 years to August 2007, first time anybody asked me about my 5-year plan. At the time, I was going to be a college senior, and I saw myself working in college recreation for the rest of my life. Well, instead, here's where things did go. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in psychology. I moved to Illinois to get a master's degree in kinesiology and started some public speaking. I moved here to Florida to start working in event management, got my girlfriend at the time pregnant, became technically homeless for a short period of time, became a 25-year-old college professor, and then wound up having to fight for custody of my son. Now, is that where I saw myself 5 years before? No, it was not. But I was further along down the road than I thought I would be, even if I didn't realize it at the time, because 2012 was a rough patch for sure. So let's continue this journey. Let's jump back in the car. 2012, Matt, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, at this point, I really wasn't too sure, but I knew that I wasn't too happy, and I wanted to make some changes. So by 2017, I managed to win 50% custody of my son. I met the woman who became my wife and the kids who became my stepchildren. We got married and had a beautiful daughter. I lost my college professor job, but I started working at night as a trivia host before getting another college professor job. At one point, I even had to support my entire family on one income when my wife lost her job at a Catholic school because she was pregnant with our daughter and we weren't married yet. That still happens. Needless to say, most of that was not in what my 5-year plan would have been before. So that's probably when my perspective started to shift. You see, I realized that despite all the obstacles in the road, the things that jumped out, the lanes I had to change, the speed bumps, the potholes, and the damage that my vehicle took along this drive, I kept driving forward, learning and progressing and getting better just like I did before. So, 2017, Matt, you're a dad, a husband, college professor, trivia host. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? At that point, based on the last 10 years, I realized I had no freaking clue. But I knew that it was not about the destination. I realized it was more about that willingness to drive forward. Because I knew there'd be good times, I knew there'd be bad times. But if I kept driving forward, well then I would grow and I would learn and I'd be better. And that's how I wanted to be, regardless of where I would be. So here is how the last 5 years have gone. I started working in sports, first as a pro wrestling announcer before adding boxing, MMA, pro football, college basketball, and pro baseball to my resume as a host for the Daytona Tortugas and the Savannah Bananas. I started working under the name The Young Professor because it's a little more memorable, more marketable, and makes me sound a little bit smarter than I actually am. I left my college professor job. I started a new business. I lost that business to COVID, and then I wound up teaching high school social studies. I have hosted over 1,000 events. This is my second Elevate Daytona speech in that time, and in 2 days I will stand on stage at the Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing, to announce all the NASCAR drivers out in front of 100,000 fans at the Coke Zero Sugar 400. None of that existed in my 5-year plan or in my brain 5 years ago. But I did know that I would be further along and better off. So that's the real answer to that question. Further along and better off. Any other answer is baloney. You don't know where you'll be in 5 years. But with the right mindset and the willingness to keep driving, you can definitely figure out how you will be in 5 years.